Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and for today's video we're going over a big one. The stock Apple is about to release earnings, okay guys? And the stock has been wild up until this point the past couple days, and today has not let up at all. We're up another 2% on the day. The overall market is on fire right now, and the stock Apple in the past couple minutes has been just all over the place, right? Look at these candlesticks. I mean, we're jumping a good 30-40 cents on a candlestick, which for Apple is it's a big move. I mean, we're talking, look at down here on the volume chart, you could see that on the 1 minute chart, we're at $250,000 to almost $500,000 in volume on the 1 day, 1 minute chart for each one of these candlesticks. So it's a very, very volatile stock right now with a lot happening. We're about to release earnings here at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. After hours, I'm going to take you guys through the whole thing. We're going to go over it live. We're going to get my reaction. We're going to get the reaction here live. We're going to go over earnings and whether or not Apple is a buy right now. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments below. Let's jump into this video. So if we take a little look here, the past year for Apple, it's been pretty solid. I mean, we hit highs of almost $200 in the summertime before quickly pulling back, and we actually pulled back pretty hard. But as of recent, we've been starting to make a move the past couple weeks, trying to get back up there. This is a big earnings for Apple. As you can see, they're paying roughly about 24 cents on their dividend, and they paid that out last in August. And earnings per share was at $1.26 with the estimate of $1.18. So they beat on earnings per share last quarter. Let's go over this quarter's numbers. Here we go. End of day. Market has just closed, and the stock Apple just jumped up to 177.78, hitting a high of the day, and now the stock is jumping all over the place. I was gonna go, oh, it's already jumping. What is going on? Nothing's been released yet. I was just about to go over some numbers with you guys to get you guys ready for earnings, but we are still waiting for Apple's earnings to come out, and the stock is already making moves to the upside. So while we wait for earnings to actually come out over here, I pulled up some information from last quarter as well as some estimates for this quarter. The tech giant last quarter around August dropped 4.5% because of it wasn't the best outlook for the company. Earnings were a beat, like I mentioned earlier, on earnings per share. They reported 126 on revenue of 81 billion. The estimate was that 119 with revenue. Okay, it was 81.7 billion. So they did beat on revenue as well, just barely though. But for fourth quarter, here's what analysts are estimating that Apple will do. They are estimated that they will do $1.31 earnings per share with a revenue of $84.18 billion. And the analyst over at Wedbush, Dan Ives, a very well-known analyst over there, he put a price target of $240. That is a 38% upside. That is insane, actually, that they put at $240. I think that's a little aggressive to have it up there that high right now. I think $200 to $220 is definitely a more reasonable price range, but I guess $240 is nothing crazy. It could be much higher, but I'm curious to see what's going to happen here when earnings do release, whether or not price targets are going to increase or they're actually going to decrease from this, because the stock has been in a little bit of a slump, and we saw it run up to $200, but we haven't seen it close to $200 in a while. So I'm curious to see what analysts are thinking going into 2024. And it says, from a technical standpoint, Apple stock looks bullish heading into this event, trading in a confirmed uptrend and recently regaining the 200-day simple moving average support. That is true. The stock did pull back quite a bit, but has since bounced and is trading above that 200-day moving average. So we'll have to see what happens here on earnings. Still not much happening after hours, moving up a little bit, but let's just continue to watch and see what happens. So while we wait for Apple to come out, let's talk about Block. Ticker symbol SQ jumped up from $44 all the way up to $52 on earnings. This was a big earnings report for them. Let's dive into this one. So taking a quick look at Block's numbers, which were incredible, their revenue was reported at $5.62 billion versus the estimate of $5.44 billion. And the earnings per share estimate was 47 cents, and they beat that and got 55 cents earnings per share. And then for quarter three, their numbers are up with their cash app generated of $3.58 billion in revenue and $984 million of gross profit, which is up 34% and 27% year over year, both those numbers. And not only did they have a good quarter, right? They had a good quarter and the numbers were great and all, but they're expecting Q4 gross profit to be between 1.96 and 1.98, which is, again, another year-over-year growth of 18 to 19%. That is huge. That was big for the company. The stock needed it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this stock. This was a big COVID time stock. And, I mean, I could pull it out even further than a year, actually. This thing was up to, what, $300 at one point? $289. This thing, and I used to trade this thing and have it back here. $289 this stock was. And then it just took a huge dive after COVID. And since then, nothing has happened with the stock, except there is gonna be a little blip down here that'll jump tomorrow. It'll probably be up in the 50s, so it'll be something, but we're still really far down where we were just a few months ago, or even a few years ago. But nevertheless, this was good for the company. This is good numbers reported. This is good projections for the future, and honestly, this is good for the stock. I want to trade this one for tomorrow, for sure. There is some very strong momentum in the stock. Here we go. I think earnings were reported. Let's pull it up right here. They report fourth quarter earnings. The stock is all over the place. Jumped up to 180, then back down to 176. Trying to decide which way to go. Let's see. The company posted $89.5 billion in revenue, down 1% year over year. Quarterly earnings per diluted share of $1.46, up 13%. The stock keeps climbing. Quarter four earnings per share $1.46 on revenue and 89.5, with the consensus of $1.39 with revenue of 89.4. So just snuck by again on the revenue beat, and earnings per share was a beat by a good couple cents there. iPhone sales are $43.8 billion. That's the iPad sales, $6.4 billion. Okay, I do like how they split this up and give us the information like as we go along. And stock's pulling back now. They don't like something about this. Mac sales, $7.6 billion. Wearables, $9.3. This was an interesting candle look right here. Stock jumped up to about 181 and then pulled back, and now we're pulling back into the 170s here pretty quick too. Services revenue, $22 billion. Quarter four services revenue reached an all-time high though. That was interesting. Let's see what people on Stock Tweets are saying about this. It's always going to have mixed reviews on there and whatnot, but wow. It was quite a jump. And for Apple, I mean, that's a move of 176 up to 182 pretty much. That's a big move for a stock like Apple that doesn't move that much. I'm going to have to start pulling this down. Wow, 175. We're tanking a little bit now, boys. Pulling back a little bit. Ooh, big pullback. 175. We're going to break that 175 area. Jeez. We're starting to really pull back. Let's see what marks we're looking at here for support levels. I mean, it's kind of hard to say in like after hours what it's looking like, but yeah. Basically, it took away all the gains from today. But honestly, look, they beat on earnings per share. It wasn't huge, but it was a decent beat. Revenue just snuck by with the beat on there. And then I'm not sure how, like when they split it up, I'm not sure how well iPhone sales are supposed to do compared to iPad, compared to Mac. Like, there's probably a certain percentage of how much each is supposed to make in revenue or in sales rather, and what they're expected to do, but I don't know those numbers. But Apple, you know what? This is obviously a long-term stock. It doesn't matter what happens today, it matters what happens 10 years from now, pretty much. But all right, here we go. Here's some more good news. Well, I don't know if it's good news, but let me pull this over for you guys real quick. Sorry, I got like multiple monitors going here. Tim Cook says iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Pro Max models are supply constrained. Expects to reach supply-demand balance on iPhone 15 Pro and iPhone 15 Pro Max models during the current quarter. Okay, and expects Mac sales to improve in current quarter. Okay. iPad sales 6.44 million versus visible alpha analyst consensus of 6.1, so those would be on iPad sales in Q4. Services sales of 22.3 billion versus a consensus of 21.4 billion. Fiscal quarter 4 earnings per share 1.46, expectations versus the 139, and yeah, the 89.5 versus the expected 89.34. So we did get a beat. Over in Europe, 22 billion, America 40 billion, Greater China 15 billion, Japan, rest of Asia. Okay. So wow, that you know what? Pretty solid, 40 billion just here in America, and a little over half of that out in Europe. But the stock still does not want to go up. It's pulling back down here. But I like how they break that up. I don't remember ever seeing that one before. But I mean, hey, you got to take what you can get here. The stock has been moving the past couple days. Maybe that's just people trying to sell off their gains that they bought earlier in the week. But I think that this thing turns around tomorrow. I mean, it's pulling back now, but I think that, I mean, yeah, we should have jumped. Oh, that was that 182 mark where it stopped. Oops. That was that 182 mark where it jumped up to, and then it couldn't get past. So let's watch this tomorrow. Obviously, 182 is going to be a main area of concern. And then let's see what happens with it after hours tonight and see where like pre-market we start at. But I'm thinking we break into 180 tomorrow. I think it's gonna be a positive day. It can happen like this where when earnings are first released, a lot of people sell because they're short-term traders just selling off their gains. I mean, look at, if you bought even last week for this run-up, that's a good enough trade in itself. I would take that any day. I mean, anywhere down here all the way up to where we are right now, I mean, you're talking 5-6% gain in just a few days on Apple. And I don't know what contracts are out there or whatnot, but yeah, I mean, this is a solid gain. The good $10 win for anyone who bought last week or earlier this week and held it out till today. And I think that's what a lot of people do, and that's how people trade these things in these stocks like this. I mean, sometimes if they're really good earnings, they'll push through and they'll just hold on to it till tomorrow, and then there'll be a sell-off. But I think that the sell-off is right now, and then tomorrow the stock just continues to rally because people want to get back in off these earnings and they notice how good they were. So I don't know. I think this is good for the stock. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's see, Apple stock heads 1.6 lower after a quarter. iPhone sales 43.3 million versus the consensus of 43.8 versus the consensus of 43.7. Mac sales down a little bit. Okay, so but he reinstated that this quarter the Mac sales are expected to improve with the supply constrained in progress here. But yeah, $1.46 versus $1.39 being earnings per share, and at 89.5 versus the 89.284 on sales revenue or on sales. That was solid quarter, I think. Stock reacted a little funky, but you know what? I'll bet my bottom dollar that this thing tomorrow starts to run and we're up a good another 2-3-4% on the day tomorrow. But we'll just have to wait and see. I think we break over this 180 though. Let's watch for that. Definitely watch for 180, and then 182 is the big one. If we break above 182, we're going back into the 185s area. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about Apple in the comments below. If you guys are new here and enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and comment what do you guys think of Apple. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out, everybody.